Hey guys, I thought I'd just do a quick video on the proposed Super League announcement, and if you are kind of a fan of the channel, I suppose you can already have an idea of how I'm going to feel about it, and I honestly, I hate it. I think it's disgusting. It kind of sickens me about the thought of it. I think all the clubs involved should be utterly ashamed of themselves. I mean, that right there is an example of greed. That's an example of not caring about the fans, just total disrespect for the fans, for everything, for the league system, and utter contempt for all the other clubs in the league. I think it's absolutely disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. I think it should never be allowed to go ahead, and I think that if it is going to happen, then I think that FIFA and UEFA and the FA and all the other regional leagues should heavily sanction the teams. Like, there are proposals that, any player that plays for a quote unquote Super League team will be banned from representing their country. I think absolutely right. I think, point deductions, they're not allowed to take part in any domestic trophies, all that. Absolutely, completely on board with it. Just if it does happen, don't bottle that decision, stand by that decision. But yeah, those clubs should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. And we don't know the identity of the clubs, of all the clubs at the moment. We just hear it's this so-called Big Six. I think United and Arsenal have been confirmed as being part of it. If it is the Big Six that we know as the quote-unquote Big Six, then that would be Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea and Tottenham. And yeah, I think all six of those clubs should be ashamed of themselves. And I think this, they're talking about point deductions. Absolutely, point deductions, definitely. And I'm not just saying that because full well that I hate some of those teams. I don't hate all the teams. I like some of those teams as well. But I'm just saying that as someone that's completely outraged by this idea, I think absolutely deducts points from them for for going forward with this. Absolutely do. So it's just absolutely a shame. On the flip side, however, if it does go ahead and it is allowed to happen, which it absolutely shouldn't, then all I can do is urge people, don't watch it. Don't entertain it. Just leave it. Leave it alone. Don't watch it. If you don't watch it, they'll, I'm just, and then possibly, it could be the start of maybe a changing of the guard in football, maybe. If people do turn away, because you should turn away. If someone asks you to watch it, you should say, no, I'm not going to watch it. Even if you are a so-called fan of these clubs, or like an actual fan of these clubs, don't watch it. Because that club has treated you with such contempt by doing this. They've basically just stuck a massive middle finger up to you. Don't entertain that. Even if you are, loyal to that club and love the club, you shouldn't entertain it. You should turn away. You should, because that's what they've basically done to you, to the fan base. I think it's absolutely disgusting, as I've already said. However, on the flip side, what this could do is it could invoke a changing of the guard in football. Let's assume that if this does occur, because UEFA and FIFA are not on board with it, we'll continue the Champions League, but these teams are not allowed to take part in it, as they shouldn't be. They should all be banned from taking part in it. Absolutely agree with that. And let's have, we've got a brand new Champions League. So, what I mean by that is we've got different teams in it. This is how the league looks without the so-called Big Six. As I said, we don't know for definite it's those six teams that I'm omitting, but I think it can be heavily assumed it is those six teams. So the way it works is Leicester now win the league. That's their second Premier League title. West Ham comes second. Everton come third. Leeds come fourth. Aston Villa come fifth. They'll go into the Europa League. Aston Villa will be sixth. And Aston Villa will be fifth. Wolves will be sixth. And Crystal Palace will take part in the brand new Europa Conference League. But yeah, I think France and the French and German teams have said that they don't want to take part. Fair play to them. Fair play to to like say Bayern Munich and Dortmund, and even hate to say it, but fair play to PSG for turning it down. Even though I think they're, a disgusting oil club, I think, fair play to them for not, if they are turning it down. I don't know for definite if they are or not, but if they are turning it down, then fair play to them. I think I'm always going to be fair on this channel. But I mean, as well, I think the other thing is, it seems to be like one of those kind of American leagues where it's, it's not teams. They're not teams that take part. Like the American leagues. Like me and myself, I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of basketball. I'm a fan of like American football, and I try and watch the games when I can. It's quite difficult because they're always on really late, but I stay up to date with what's going on with them. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're not teams. They're franchises. It's just businesses. They're not. If you've finished last in the season, doesn't matter. We'll just give you the best player next season. You do better next season. Doesn't matter. They're not teams. They're franchises, and it's all business, and that's what the Super League probably will be. And I think it's also a shame because it's like these top six clubs may be the top six clubs at the moment, but they're not always going to be top six clubs. It's like Man City's the newest addition to this so-called top six. Tottenham as well have kind of, through a different way, they've kind of more so earned it, although they've not won any trophies since 2008, which is hilarious, because before it was known as a big four, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United and Liverpool, and even then, like before then in the 90s, Chelsea, still doing okay, but not quite in the top four, and then, goes back to the 80s, you've got like Liverpool and Everton. Go all the way back to the 20s, the 1920s, because this is the 2020s, but go back to the 1920s, Huddersfield Town are like your big team, like, the big team. I think they won like 4 titles in that era. It would be Huddersfield Town taking part then, Huddersfield Town of the Championship. I think speaking of the Championship, I feel like that's a breakaway that I think will soon happen. I feel like the Championship will eventually break away from the Football League, and I think they'll kind of form like a second tier of the Premier League. I can understand that happening. The Premier League broke away because they didn't want to have to share all their money with the Football League, which, it's, I'm not against the Premier League. I think I'm kind of against decisions like that, but yeah, I can see it happening. I'm not defending that decision. I'm not endorsing that decision either. But that's a decision they made. I can see the Championship doing the same thing. It's the I think I heard somewhere it's like the 7th most watched league in the world. It's also the most watched second tier in the world as well. And I myself, I'd watched a lot of the Championship. I think it's a shame because we know that Sheffield United have been relegated now. It's a shame. It looks like Sheffield Wednesday might get relegated from the Championship, which would be a shame because the Steel City derby is probably, I would say, one of the biggest games in football. And that might not actually happen, which would have been like the one pro of a team like Sheffield United being relegated. So we kind of got to hope that Wednesday keep themselves up so that we can get that fixture next season. And I do watch I do enjoy watching the Championship games when they come on. We saw that Norwich recently got promoted despite losing to Bournemouth this weekend rather. So yeah, I think that's going off a little bit of a tangent, but I think just to summarise the video, I think this decision made by the so-called top six, as I'll call them, because and the reason I'm saying the so-called top six is because they're not in the top six. You've got Leicester in 3rd and West Ham in 4th. Arsenal are all the way in is it 10th? I think they're 9th now actually, but they nearly lost to Fulham today, and they're demanding to be part of Europe's elite, and it's laughable really, and absolutely disgusting, and should not be allowed to happen. But we'll only see what happens. But yeah, FIFA and UEFA don't entertain it. As I said, ban any player from that team from representing their country, which I think is a fair thing to do. I think that drives them away from those clubs back to more humble clubs, and then without the star players, the fans disappear too. Because let's face it, most of the fans of those teams are play plastic anyway.